a break dance.
When you're feeling ready, it's time to crazy Eddie.
He's a non-sectarian type of person.
I got chains, I got yours.
And welcome to what may very well be the all-time single most diabolical episode of the Oddity Archive. Yeah. Well, once again, I'm stuck putting out a full regular archive episode on Thanksgiving. And I think it's pretty well established at this point that even tangentially Archivian Thanksgiving material is pretty much non-existent. So instead of trying to force a topic, I figured we'd just do something a little different and hopefully fun. Now, last month I conducted a completely informal, non-scientific poll on the Archive's Facebook and Twitter pages, and I asked you, dear viewers, what is the catchiest tune I've subjected you to on the Archive? And I disallowed any major labels, major artists kind of stuff. And in spite of that restriction, I still got to the tune of 150 responses. So what I've done is I've put together a loose top 10 list, and out of necessity, loose, because while the top 4 are nice and clear cut, once he got down to number 5 and below, it just became this endless line of anywhere from 2 to 6-way ties. So for those lower ones, I factored in how many times have I heard about them from viewers over the years. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the top 10 greatest earworms to ever grace the Oddity Archive. To date, anyway. And, when possible, I'll tell the stories behind them.
Celebration. Don't waste no invitation. Leave your worries behind. You got to make your own sunshine.
Some of my personal favorites only managed 1 or 2 votes apiece. Of course, this being my show, I think I'm at liberty to include some honorable mentions, all of which just happen to come from the same 2 episodes. Any comments I have on these will be made in text form.
I browse at Bloomingdale's, I leap through Lord and Taylor, but I buy at Alexander's, I buy at Alexander's.
You know, pound for pound, I bet you're the sweetest girl in town. Oh, sugar britches, you got my nerves in stitches. Candy pants, you make my heart do a break dance. For heaven's sakes, got to have a shot of those strawberry shortcakes. Candy pants. Oh, candy pants. Listen.
He's a non-sectarian type of person. Says we're headed for our own destruction. Turning up into the natural order.
Here's Cal Worthington and his dog Spot.
Never worry, never sweat, Cozy Cow. He's a guy you won't forget, Cozy Cow.
If other dealers you have cussed, here's a dealer you can trust. All you have to do is just go see Cal.
Howdy again.
Why do you think you are nuts? Why do you think you are nuts?
Georgia. Are you nuts? Are you nuts? Stealing cigarettes, but why do you think you are nuts? Why do you think you are nuts?
Another one to make its first, and prior to today, only appearance in the first local commercials episode. Like the Alexander's jingle, this is one of those jingles that actually had several variations, usually tying itself to some then-current pop culture thing. For example, when American Graffiti and Happy Days were at their peak, a throwback doo-wop version appeared.
Oh, when you think you're ready, come down to Crazy Eddie, the man who's got most everything in stereo sound. His audio selection will be with your perfection. He's the man with all the lowest prices around.
But the one that everyone remembers is the one made to cash in on Saturday Night Fever and the disco craze. I personally love the Bee Gees on Extra Helium vocal performance on this one. It fits perfectly with the over-the-top slapstick vibe of the commercial itself. Oh yeah, and enough votes or not, I had to put this one in the top 10. Crazy Eddie Chief Financial Officer Sam Antar personally linked me a copy of the ad, unsolicited.
And so the story's told across the whole wide world. Maybe I will not be in the sun.
Crazy Eddie Fever. Catch it.
This one made its first appearance at the beginning of episode 23, Scary Logos and Other Nostalgic Video Terrors, and has made at least a couple more appearances since then. This song comes from an apparently incredibly rare 3-song demo EP by the Jimmy FITH Band, released in 1994, which I found in a beautiful downtown Aurora thrift store back in early 2013. Somehow, this Bay Area release found its way, autographed no less, to Colorado. Now, Jimmy FITH is actually one Jim Fithian, and his band is loose at best. Actually, Fithian is the only official member of the band. Aside from having the second best mullet I've ever seen, nobody'll ever beat Henry Lee Summer, 2 of the 3 songs are pure Weather Channel music. As for the EP's last cut, it sounds like someone threw the Rippingtons and Mahavishnu Orchestra into a blender. I've tried searching for Jimmy with limited success. While seemingly alive and well, it appears he's no longer active. Honestly, given how often this has appeared on Archive, usually as montage music, I expected it to be in the top 3. It didn't even come close. Regardless, this one made its first appearance on episode 55, Record Ripoffs Volume 3, Return of the Son of Record Ripoffs. This one comes from an especially generic-looking 8-track called Themes from Godspell, the musical. However, this is only half true, as half the album consists of dreary, solo electric organ renditions of old public domain tunes. As for the rest of the music, this one's notable for how sparse it is. At its most ornate, you've got an organ with bass pedals, piano, electric guitar, vibes, and a very early, very primitive drum machine. So no more than 4 people on one song. I admit, I took a perverse pleasure in taunting my viewers with its so-called rock version of Day by Day, until I couldn't stand it anymore. Having said that, I much prefer the vibrations version of this one.
Hello there, we're the Vibrations, featuring Sandy Lee on vocals.
Day by day, day by day. Oh, dear Lord, these things I pray.
I got chains, I got yours. I got bracelets for your arms. Money back guarantee.
This one made its first and only appearance in episode 41, Infomercials. If you've seen that episode, you know what a thoroughly insane rabbit hole that the story of Victor Santo Rigatuso, aka Santo Gold, is. As far as this song goes, this is the apparent theme song to the barely released, now probably lost, 1985, but not released till 87, horror/wrestling film, Blood Circus. Musically, it's nothing special. A rudimentary 1-4-5 chord progression and some stereotypically mid-80s pop flourishes. It's Santo Gold's own frantic vocal and overtly self-aggrandizing, self-promoting lyrics that make this one.
We got gold. We got Santo Gold, baby. Now all the girls know. Santo Gold, there you go. Santo Gold. I mean, Santo Gold.
We can stay right home and see it all, night after night. We won't have to stand in line, we're staying in tonight. You play your disc, I'll play mine.
I'm genuinely surprised anyone even remembers this one. It made its one and only appearance in episode 92, Capacitance Electronic Discs, or CEDs. This came from a dealer introduction video made at NBC in New York City, introduced by Tom Brokaw, to introduce the long-gestating but short-lived home video format, the CED. I guess the only reason this video really exists was to stroke the egos of the higher-ups at RCA, because there is little to no information in this near hour-long bout of self-congratulation. It's certainly little useful for those that had to, sell the damn things.
The competition will be sawed in two when they see what our magic box can do. It's gonna do the trick. We'll be the one they pick.
I guess the song We're Stayin' In Tonight is memorable for 3 things, only one of which has anything to do with the music. It's notable for its gloriously old school, even back then, industrial musical choreography. It's notable for the giant surreal CED player that the performers dance on top of, but as far as the music goes, it's notable for one thing and one thing only: having one of the ultimate, did I really just hear that? Lyrics.
Fight, the crowds are traffic. Or find out too late, it's pornographic. We won't have to race the clock, we're staying in tonight.
DD is for everybody, not just for the few.
Given that one lyric in the last song, I guess it's appropriate that this next one tied with it in number of votes. VD is for Everybody made its only real appearance in episode 45, Public Service Announcements. This one is still leaving its mark, so to speak, on the archive. A still from the final shot of this 1973-ish public service announcement remains in the archive's regular opening theme sequence to this day. And while it would make a perfect joke, contrary to the date that's been spreading around the internet, this ad is not from '69. Now, yes, I am totally hip to the fact that this ad was intended to A, show that anyone, regardless of background, can contract an STD, and B, the music was intended to be ironic. However, from where I stand, an oddly whimsical foxtrot playing against pictures of happy-looking people just makes it look like venereal disease is a good thing, and that I should be seeking it out.
If you're curious or confused, get information or a pamphlet at most pharmacies or a health clinic. If you need help, see a doctor.
When I conducted the poll for this episode, I stated that no major labels / major artist stuff would be counted, so this one only gets in because of a technicality. This one has actually never appeared in its proper context on this show. It's best remembered for the audio appearing at the beginning of episode 78, The Death of Analog TV. After today, we will no longer be allowed to create and post new content. In these final moments, we will attempt one last retrospect. Now, I think we're all familiar with this 1986 #1 hit for the group Berlin, but this particular rendition is a lot more mysterious. I found this on a Betamax tape in late 2014, early 2015, playing during a possibly accidentally recorded half-hour stretch of the Port Angeles, Washington cable TV community billboard channel. Despite a few efforts over the years, I've never been able to track down who made this particular rendition of this song. Even YouTube's over-aggressive content ID system has never been any help. My best guess is that it was made explicitly for a MUZAK or MUZAK-esque stock library. I was seriously considering disallowing this one because it's not exactly a full-fledged song. Clocking in at a whopping 12 seconds, only 4 seconds of which are heard clearly, it's not a whole lot to go on. But since it came in at a rock-solid 3rd place, I guess I'll try. This one has appeared twice. First, way back on episode 2, Emergency Broadcast Salute, then brought back for its belated sequel, episode 159, Emergency Broadcast Salute Volume 2, Halloween Special 2018. Of course, this tune was pulled from a 1981 SCTV sketch, a mock record offer commercial for the, alas fictitious, 5 Neat Guys Neatest Hits compilation. Other hits included She Does It and Patsy Has the Largest Breasts in Town. However, Egg Salad Sandwiches is the one everybody remembers and is probably my all-time favorite non sequitur on this show.
Who made the egg salad sandwiches?
For a one-episode wonder, this one's had some serious staying power. This one appeared in episode 11, Pay TV but Not Cable or Satellite, as part of the Countdown to TELEIST music. TELEIST being an incredibly short-lived and notoriously idiosyncratic over-the-air pay TV service available only in Chicago for a few months during the first half of 1984. The tune is called CYCLOTRON and is by British library music guru Keith Mansfield, and it appeared on the 1981 stock music LP Technomatics, which was finally reissued, albeit download only, in 2017. I actually really like this song. Not sure how much of an earworm it is, but it is early 80s pseudo-futuristic science show music at its finest, and holds up quite nicely to repeat listening. Well, I don't know if y'all are just kissing my ass or it's just the sheer tonnage of times I've played it, but the Archives theme song, PAVANNED, won by a freaking landslide. It got a total of 70 mentions and likes across Facebook and Twitter. To put this in perspective, Cyclotron, at number 2, only got 15. Now, I wasn't going to discuss this one until the end of the still ongoing occasional Ben's music career sub-series, but since it's number 1, let me at least give you the shortest possible version. After it became obvious that the Archives' original theme song, XTC's 1982, at least rock radio hit, Senses Working Overtime, probably wasn't a wise choice, I figured I'd better go back and try and come up with something original, for copyright reasons. The middle section of what became PAVANNED had actually been written a year or two earlier for a song from an unrealized, all-acoustic, all-instrumental album. By the time I came up with the A section, ABA song structure, I felt like I'd come up with what's known as a pavan, which is a Renaissance-era, sedate, processional dance music. Smartass that I am, coming up with something like that in the 21st century, I figured it would be funny to make it past tense, so hence PAVANNED. The story behind this song actually runs a tad deeper, but hopefully this at least gives you the gist of it. Well, that's it for today's archive. And here's to another 184 episodes worth of downright evil earworms. I think I'm gonna need a drink. There's another one. cows at Bloomingdale's. I leap through Lord and Taylor's, but I buy at Alexander's. I buy at Alexander's. You're losing it, Ben. Why do you think you are nuts? Why do you think you are nuts?
Here's Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. Never worry, never sweat, Cozy Cal. He's a guy you won't forget, Cozy Cal. If other dealers you have cussed, here's a dealer you can trust.